Let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David?
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
David Glass here for another new episode of the Hourglass Podcast, where family law and psychology intersect. I'm a certified family law specialist, former psychologist, and the author of Moving On, Redesigning Your Emotional, Financial, and Social Life After Divorce. Our mission is to do all we can to help those going through a breakup or divorce find ways to make the trauma of it all a little bit easier, more understandable, smoother, and to help people find the motivation and inspiration to move on. With that in mind, we have a really interesting guest from a highly respected family crisis shelter that serves Los Angeles and Orange counties, a center for women and children fleeing from domestic abuse. That facility is Interval House. Interval House is a nonprofit organization founded in 1979 that has received over 600 awards for its innovative and successful domestic violence programs. In fact, it has received 6 presidential commendations, 7 governor's awards, all of which have singled out Interval House as a model domestic violence center for others across the country in the same line of work. Interval House has a host of programs, all of which are offered in over 70 languages. With us today is Interval House's Operations Director, Christine Delabre. Christine, can you tell us about Interval House and your role there?
I have been involved with Interval House for 27 years now. I started as a volunteer, and I was very connected with Interval House because I was first introduced to Interval House when I myself was a victim of domestic violence. Shortly after coming to America, I came into a relationship with someone that I thought was my Prince Charming.
Yeah.
But it turned out that he was controlling all of my action, everything I will do, I will say. He isolated me from my friends, my family, and as he started drinking, his behavior and violence increased when I decided that it was not a relationship I wanted to be in, and I let him know I was leaving. He got really mad, and he broke every door that was between us. During our relationship, he had mentioned that he witnessed his father abusing his mother, and that it will never hurt me. And I really believed it. I was in love. I was blind. When I let him know I wanted to leave the relationship, he grabbed me by the neck, threw me against the wall. He kicked me on the floor and left me with broken rib. And he left me for dead. Later on, I found out that he was actually on probation for a murder case, and that could have been me. So that's then when I met Interval House. I didn't have any family. I didn't have any support. And I really found a new family with Interval House, and I found a purpose. And I realized that it was a place where I could really make a change, and I could save some life. And so I've been doing the work for 25 years. But also, I really stayed all those years is because of the fact that it's a privilege and an honor to be able to make a difference. And then it's also because of the staff that we have, but also because of our executive director, Carol Williams, who really is our mentor, our hero, our strength, and all of the programs that we have are the reflect of our passion and our dedication to the cause.
Wow, what a story of turning tragedy into a powerful advocacy role and profession, and being able to help other people. Christine, what are the most common barriers that people face when they're trying to leave an abusive relationship?
So when we meet victims of domestic violence and their children, we realize that no one is the same. Everybody has their own stories. A lot of the different barriers they meet will be sometimes they want to stay because of the children. They don't want to break the family apart. Some other barriers will be that they financially, it's very hard for them to now realize, if I leave this relationship, if I leave my abuser, I won't have any finance. I won't be able to pay for my necessity, for my vital needs. Also because of religion. Often you are being married under a certain religion and you're not allowed to divorce. You're not allowed to leave. You were married for the good and the worth. Also because of language barrier. If you do not speak English, it's very hard for you to find a job, and it's very hard to communicate and really find security outside the house. Also, a lot of the barrier were just not understanding and not knowing that there is something out there. And a lot of people think that a shelter is just rooms with bunk bed and is not safe, but it is not. A shelter like the one we have are just a place where it's safe, it's caring, it's a home-like environment where you can really receive services that are customized to your specific needs.
Right. And thanks for sharing that. I'm guessing that most of our audience, even if they've been in an abusive relationship, aren't aware of these types of services, or have that mistaken idea that it's a big warehouse with a whole bunch of bunk beds in it.
Correct.
Now, has the pandemic affected the people that you serve?
He did affect. In fact, we have seen the number of people reaching out for our services increased tremendously. We had to change things into facilities, and I know all of the shelter had to do the same thing, where now you had to have social distancing. So you could not have 2 families per room, but just 1 family per room. So we had to create new ways to provide the services,
right.
And we extended of safety net hotel program, where we were able to work with local hotel and place some of the clients in hotel. What we also did is we reorganized and we recreated a program, and we did them remotely. So groups and counseling were done through Zoom. And because we really didn't want to stop providing the services, we wanted, as the demand was increasing, it was very important for us to continue providing the services. So either it was through Zoom or phone. And during the pandemic, everybody was saying safe at home, but a lot of time when you're in a domestic violence situation, now you also have a problem with the economy and financially, because one of the people into the partnership lost their job and you're not able to pay the rent. And so now you're together all the time. There is no more escape. So really, a lot of the effect of domestic violence increased and were different during that time, and we had to deal with that, and we had to redesign some of the services that we were providing to meet these new needs that the pandemic created and developed.
Sure. Can you describe for us the process, starting with someone realizes I have to get out of this abusive relationship and I don't have anywhere to turn? What's the process that they go through if they manage to find Interval House?
So the first step will be, and it will be the same for every shelter, so wherever they live in a different area of LA County and Orange County, they will, for us, they will call the 24 hours hotline. We do have a 24 hours hotline in all of the different languages, and we open 365 days a year. People will call the hotline, or very often they will be referred to us by law enforcement, by hospital, or by any other partner for emergency crisis situation. They will call the hotline. We will do a primary intake where we will do a full assessment about what the needs, but also realizing, do you have any other needs? Do you have any injury? Do you need any medical intervention? Do you have a drug or alcohol issue that you need to deal with as well? Yeah. Can you leave? Are you safe right now? So that would be the first step. Second step is, if we do have space, or if it's appropriate, then we will bring into the shelter, we will do an intake. And from there, they will be meeting with all of the advocates. And we will be talking about what kind of services do they need. We're gonna work together in customizing a service plan. so then we can together reach their long-term and short-term goal. The goal can be moving into permanent housing. The shelter is only 30 to 45 days generally. So it is really a time to relook at what are the goals. Is it a need for a restraining order? Is it a need for children custody? Is there a need for just housing? You need shelter. You need a roof over your head. Do you need to learn to take ESL class and learn English? Do you need to understand more about finance, how to open a bank account? Do you need to access the mainstream benefits, just like car work or food stamp or anything? Very often they come to us and they have nothing. Do they need just the basic needs, just clothing? So in the first 24 hours, first meeting, we will decide and we will work together hand in hand with the client about what are the needs really for you to achieve the long-term and short-term goal. So the shelters is a quick kind of a transition between the crisis situation that they're in to the permanent housing.
Right. And so what about children of the abuse victims or children themselves who have been abused? What kind of services do shelters provide for the children?
So very often people do not realize, but children are 2/3 of the population in shelters. Mother come with their children, father come with their children when they look for shelter. So it's very important to provide exactly the same level of services for the children. But also it is maybe the only time in their life as a kid that they're able to be a kid and that they're able to really not being in fear of an incident happening in the house again. So what we try to provide the children is the same service than the parent, meaning we will provide counseling, we will provide support group, but also we will make sure that they are enrolled in school right away. We will make sure that they have homework assistance. We will make sure that they can be a kid and that they increase their self-esteem, which is very often not existent when they arrive in our facility.
And I understand one of your staff members has a relatively unique story about entering the shelter herself as a child.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, Interval House is a late survivor program. A lot of our staff today, a lot of our graduates do come back. They do want to be part of the solution. And so we do have some of our staff that were here with their parents. They grew up with the parents, and when they went to school, they're like, I want to be part of Interval House. I want to be, I want to be one of the staff. And we have a very unique program as well that's called the second generation, where children who have been in through the program come back, and they did a little skit about domestic violence, teen dating violence, and they go to school. They go to high school and they make presentation and they talk about domestic violence. What are the red flags? And it's very, very powerful because it's a teen talking to a teen. It's not an adult just lecturing about teen dating violence.
Right.
And so it is really, really a huge impact. And our program has been recognized by many high schools to be part of the health class and to talk about dating violence. So a lot of the kids that have been through since they were very, very young, they do come back and they do provide services. Or even if they're hairdresser now, then they provide free haircut for all of the kids in a shelter. And they always found a way to come back and be part of the family.
Yes, so having that strong, I don't know if alumni network is the right way to explain it, but having that strong network of people who've gone through the program, further supporting the program, must be an incredible advantage for the people in the shelter.
It is very important because I always say, when you meet with a client, if you explain to them what you have been through, how hard it was, but today you're a success, you're doing great, and it gives them hope that they can do it as well, and it gives them hope that they don't have to go back. And that there is a solution, and that we do understand what you're going through. Because a lot of people will say, "Why do you stay? Why does she stay? Why does he stay?" And like we mentioned earlier about all of the barrier, there is a lot of reason why a person stays in a relationship. So being able to tell them, I understand, I've been there, you can do it. It's huge. It's an amazing encouragement for them to really go toward their goal.
How can people find Interval House if they happen to be in Orange County or Los Angeles County, California?
So the way people found Interval House is through our hotline. We have a 24-hour hotline. There's 2 different numbers. For LA County, it's 562-594-9555. For Orange County, is 714-891-8121. We also have a website where they can see a little bit more about the program that we provide, which is www.intervalhouse.org. A lot of people come to us through the hotline, and then that's where we'll be talking to them and really do an assessment about what are their needs, what kind of program they would like to, they need our help with. We do have different services. So we do offer a 24-hour hotline. We also offer an emergency shelter and transitional shelter for a longer stay. We do work with the homeless population as well. So we do rental assistance and permanent housing. We have legal assistance. We have children's program. We have financial and empowerment. So there's a lot of different programs that people can reach us. Maybe they do want to stay in the situation. They don't think they're in crisis yet, but they want to understand what's going on, and so they can just come into the group. We have personal empowerment program where people can understand the red flag, can understand what's going on or what is a unhealthy relationship. We also have individual counseling. They just need to talk to someone and understand what's going on, or they just moved on and they just cannot deal with the trauma that they're going through. So we do have a lot of different programs. You don't have to just come into the shelter. So people can think, oh, but I don't want to go in a shelter. I was able to move with my family and I just need a service. So all the shelters also do provide a service as well.
And if people aren't within the range of Interval House, what's your best advice for them to find someplace like Interval House where they live?
If they do call any domestic violence shelter, they will be able to give them resources for the area. In LA County, there is a 211. In Orange County, there is a 211, which is just a number they call, and they will refer them to the appropriate agency that can provide the services. So I think it's just when they call, then we can talk to them, and then we can see every person is different. I did a different story. It's a different case. It's just when the victim reach out to us, then you can really assess what are the needs.
Great. Well, you and Interval House offer an amazing breadth of services, and I'm very grateful for you coming today to describe them to our audience.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I'd like to end the show with singling out a song that reflects this episode that we're covering. Often songs have a way of sending strong messages to those who are affected by adversity. Taylor Swift's Mean does just that. It seems that every single word in the song singles out abusive acts by a cruel partner. There's one line that stands out to me more than all the others. But the cycle ends right now. If you are in an abusive relationship, whether it's mental or physical, realize that your abuser is not going to change, and that you're likely wasting precious time trying to reform that person, all the while losing precious time you could be spending redesigning your life. So, whatever negative cycle you're in, get out.